of us doing K-Pros here have any financial interest in the products mentioned. The Pintucci keratoprosthesis basically consists of a PMMA cylinder, much like the Boston keratoprosthesis, but it has a Dacron mesh around, which is 0.6 millimeters in thickness. This thickness is 0.6 millimeters. This is a cloth type of material. It's easy to cut, to make. It's autoclavable, ETO sterilized. You can do what you like with this. The beauty of cloth is that it gets easily colonized. Blood vessels, connective tissue can grow into cloth because it's a porous, fibrous material, just like your sari or shirt or whatever. So Dacron has been around since 1954. It's completed 60 years in the human body, and this is what Dacron looks like under electron microscopy. So multiple fibers with lots of space in between in which blood vessels and fibrous tissue can grow. Why 0.6 millimeters? Because if it's too thin, then only the surface gets colonized, the top surface and the bottom surface, but not in between. If it's too thick, it becomes less pliable and difficult to maneuver. There are certain disadvantages to the OOKP. The MOOKP, the modified osteodonto, has got much better results. Many more cases have been done worldwide, but it can't be done in children. It requires viable teeth. It requires serial MRIs to see whether the tooth is getting resorbed, and it requires a dental surgeon in most cases. The Pintucci's, the indications are the same as for MOOKP. In fact, I was wishing that Chris had spoken before me so we could save some time. But the indications are the same. Stevens-Johnson's, patients with keratinized epithelium where you can't do Boston K-Pro, basically bone dry eyes as well. There is a complex power calculation which you don't need to look at because we don't have somebody manufacturing it in different powers. The pre-op evaluation again is the same as for the MOOKP. You don't really need to do the ERG, VEP, the Schirmer's test. It's only if you're presenting a paper or writing up an article for a journal. Otherwise, most of these have got bone dry eyes to start with. This is the K-Pro surgery. It's done in 2 stages. The MOOKP, I believe in Chennai, is done now in 3 stages or even more. Here it's done in 2 stages. In the first stage, you harvest buccal mucosa. I prefer to harvest it from the lower lip. As you can see here, is the lower lip which is being held in a clamp, something like a large Calazion clamp, and you cut off a fairly thick piece of buccal mucosa with the orbicularis oris muscle as well. You can thin it outside, but it's still much thicker than, say, a conjunctival autograft that you do. And these are the type of patients we deal with. This is a patient with ankyloblepharon. So you pull it apart, try and find the fornices, make the fornices, open it up well. These are again patients in whom you can't do the Boston K-Pro because there's no tears whatsoever. So you clean it up, find the 4 recti muscles, identify the 4 recti because the 4 recti have got blood vessels going along them. So at least you know that the free buccal mucosal graft that you put in will get blood vessels to come in and hold it. Otherwise you'll find a melt of this buccal mucosa. So you see that I have found the 4 recti muscles. I'm pushing this graft deep into the fornices and suturing this to the recti with polyglactin sutures. Before that, I've identified the center of the cornea and I've taken a 10-0 nylon suture in the center of the cornea. It will help me in the second stage to find where the center is. Then we open the packaging of the Pintucci keratoprosthesis. It comes pre-packaged. This is done with 6-0 polyglactin sutures usually. You could use non-absorbable as well. Then we take the Pintucci and put it in any part of the body which has got a good blood supply. We're used to the eye, so we put it usually under the lower lid. If you own the company which makes the keratoprosthesis, then you can put one under each lid. Otherwise, it's a trifle expensive. So here you are opening the skin and orbicularis oculi and putting the Pintucci there. This is the Pintucci, the cylinder with the Dacron mesh like an can dancer skirt in the center. or little off center, and put it deep inside so that blood vessels can grow into this Dacron mesh and sort of colonize it, so it becomes a bio-integrated tissue. You leave it there for 2 months minimum, more if you like, but at least 2 months, so that it's sufficient time for it to colonize. 2 months later, you can feel the bump under the lower lid. So you open the lower lid there. The Dacron mesh, which was just 0.6 millimeters, has become much thicker now. So you take it out, clean up the Pintucci cylinder, take it out, clean it up outside. Now it's cleaned up so that the Dacron mesh, you can see, is quite thick. Open up the eye. The buccal mucosa you put in has thinned down considerably over those 2 months. Find the superior rectus, reflect the buccal mucosal flap downwards, something like a LASIK flap being reflected, a hinged flap, though less elegantly, because you don't always find a good plane, especially if the patient had some anterior staphyloma or something like that to start with. You could do a tarsorrhaphy, so this is a preparation for a tarsorrhaphy, or you could leave the eye open, because the patient is only getting tubular vision about 30 to 40 degrees through the Pintucci cylinder itself. He's not going to see around, so it doesn't matter to him. And the cosmesis is lousy in a Pintucci in any case. So this is the, now you refine the center of the cornea, partial thickness trephination. After identifying the center, because of that suture that you have taken, 3 cuts at 12, 4 and 8 o'clock position, so that you can reflect the cornea back after cutting the central disc out. This is now a 4 millimeter disc. It used to be 3.5. When you pull out the iris, yank on the ciliary body while you're pulling out the iris, so that you get a bit of a cyclodialysis cleft, so the pressure in the eye remains a little. Cataract extraction with a cryo. This is a cryo intracapsular cataract extraction being done. Suture the cuts you made in the cornea, then suture the Dacron mesh to the top of the cornea after putting the Pintucci cylinder inside, so that part of the cylinder projects out. Close the buccal mucosa on top and refine the center of the buccal mucosa so that the cylinder projects out. And this is how it looks at the end of the procedure. The visual field is directly proportional to the cylinder diameter, inversely proportional to the cylinder length. The role of the Dacron is that it's tri-dimensionally colonized. That means it's colonized from the top, from the bottom, and from the sides. This stops undesirable epithelial migration. So you don't get epithelium growing through this, because there is mesodermal elements here. So it can't grow through this. Technically you can't get, theoretically you can't get retroprosthetic membranes. You can't get endophthalmitis, because no bacteria can penetrate this impermeable wall formed by the bio-integrated cylinder, the Dacron mesh. You can get buccal mucosal overgrowth over this if this PMMA cylinder doesn't project out enough like this, so that you can get a buccal mucosal overgrowth. But this theoretically cannot happen, because you cannot get epithelium growing through mesoderm. That's the rule of nature right from Adam and Eve. This is the lousy cosmesis. This lady doesn't smile anymore for the last 5 years, because she has 6/9 vision, but she can't play cards in kitty parties without being embarrassed. So this is 82 eyes. Purpose was to evaluate Pintucci's series, the late Stefano Pintucci series. He had done 1500 Caucasian eyes, talked to me about it in my years, but presented only 200 eyes in a British Journal of Ophthalmology publication in 1995. So we did 82 blind Asian patients with accurate light perception, all those unsuitable or having history of failed PK, and a B scan showing attached retina. At least this is the basic minimum that you need to do. My indications were chemical burns. As Virendra said, we get a lot of chemical burns, especially tuna injuries or lime paste injuries that we see. We don't see too much of ocular pemphigus. Failed grafts I did earlier, but since 2009 we've been doing exclusively Boston K-Pros for failed grafts. This was done in Malaysia. This was a milk vendor who regained sight after some 16 odd surgeries had been done to him earlier, and then died while crossing the road because he forgot he had only tubular vision, so a truck ran over him. So Pintucci keratoprostheses are injurious to life. They give you sight though. No improvement of vision in 17 patients, 3 feet to 20/60 in 52 patients, 20/60 to 20/20 in 13 patients, death due to Pintucci in one patient. We've had our fair share of complications, things which are not supposed to happen. Retroprosthetic membranes, extrusions, these are not supposed to happen. Detachments, we've had a paper from Shankar Nethralaya on my complications. That's detachments being done by Dr. Pukhraj Rishi et al. From Shankar Nethralaya, all of them successfully. Choroidal detachments, buccal mucosal overgrowth, phthisis, buccal mucosal melts, gapes, infections, span off, end off. Things which are not supposed to happen have happened. A lot of secondary procedures have been done. This is a Pintucci cylinder floating around. I'm the only human being in the world to have not one but 3 such cases, in which one is still floating around because I didn't send him to Shankar Nethralaya. The other 2 have been removed successfully at Shankar Nethralaya because they have this nasty habit of removing things which fall into the vitreous. Bad habits. Vitrectomy for infection. I have tried everything for buccal mucosal gapes, including temporalis flap transfers. This is a patient with a buccal mucosal gape in a college student. I tried to take temporalis like this and tunnel it under. I've just put it outside to show you. Tunnel it under, bringing it out to the lateral canthus, take it across and stitch it to the medial canthal area, the periosteum. It still didn't work. This is a patient with buccal mucosal overgrowth, so his vision would go down every time the buccal mucosa overgrew, like this, to pinhole vision and then zero vision from 6/18. Tried everything, did a cautery, and finally I dropped the K-Pro into the vitreous, then took out the second K-Pro from the other side and put it in. And this is the same patient with a second K-Pro, one K-Pro floating in the vitreous and a second K-Pro outside. So subsequently I did drop K-Pros twice, possibly due to a manufacturing defect. In conclusion, though we see many more cases of bad chemical trauma as compared to cases of OSD and pemphigus, it does work quite satisfactorily in Asian eyes. Almost 65% of the patients show some improvement in visual acuity. Thank you for your attention.